Grandfather could not defeat it. Sometime after, the prospectors came to mine this mountain, trapped the men, and woke the and driven mad murderers, cannibals, eating, taunt them with fire. Years after many moons, until one night, a year ago, I was finally able to get him in my sights. But we were not alone in the woods that night. I couldn't save you. I could avenge them.
America's North Woods border region. Within this land of 10,000 lakes and miles of dense timber, a hideous creature is believed to lurk.
The North Woods is probably one of the last frontiers in America. There's still a lot of places in this area that hasn't been set foot by man. Monsters and mysteries exist here because it is remote.
Up in the North Woods, winters are long. In times of biting cold and isolation, a devouring monster is believed to come forth. It's terrorized native people for generations.
Growing up, I was told, like, don't go outside, the Wendigo will get you.
Among the traditions of the northern Algonquin tribes is the Wendigo, a monster that can seize hold of a person to carry out its hunger for human flesh.
Many Native Americans fear even talking about this Wendigo, and even the mention of the name will let the Wendigo find out where you are, and it will open you up to be possessed by this Wendigo.
The most famous case of a Wendigo possession took place in 1879. In the deep woods outside of Edmonton, Alberta. Swift Runner, a Cree Indian, was a trapper and a guide. He had left town the previous autumn with his wife, 6 children, and his mother. But when Swift Runner returned in spring, he was alone.
Swift Runner came into a nearby village telling this heartbreaking tale.
I had to watch them starve to death.
Of his family being killed by starvation, and that he was the only survivor.
My whole family gone.
It wasn't hard to understand a family falling victim to a brutal winter.
To even not.
Yet something was suspicious about Swift Runner.
He was a strapping man, and he came into town weighing over 200 pounds. It didn't look like somebody who had just weathered a terrible winter. He wasn't malnourished, didn't look like he was starving. He looked healthier than ever.
After a few nights, it became clear that something was wrong.
He started having night terrors, screaming in his sleep.
I am the Wendigo!
Villagers alerted the police.
Swift Runner actually guided them back to his winter cabin. When they got there, that's when they saw the true horror. Human skulls were scattered around, many bones, some of which had been snapped in half, and the marrow inside had been drained. They had never seen anything like it. Swift Runner had killed his entire family, shooting them, hitting them with an axe, strangling, and then eating most of their bodies.
right up until the moment the noose was on his neck. Swift Runner swore the evil spirit of the Wendigo had possessed him and twisted him into a cannibal killer.
When he was on the gallows, Swift Runner himself said, "I am no longer a man."
Just move over there. Go on, move. Let me say what I came to say. I'm here to tell you what you're up against being back on this mountain. You should never have returned. I don't know why you did after what happened last year.
You mean with Hannah and Beth?
Yeah, how could you know without being involved?
I don't take kindly to you kids coming up here to my mountain.
Your mountain.
The mountain don't belong to me, it's true. But it don't belong to the Washingtons. This mountain belongs to the Wendigo.
Hi, this is Lee Robinson, production designer at Supermassive Games. Understanding the ancient myths of the Wendigo was key for their development that helped the visual look. Through sketches and concepts, these elements were visualized, such as eyes being milky, almost dead, with loss of lips and eyelids due to frostbite, fangs growing and arms and legs getting longer, with skin hardening and thickening to look snarling and menacing, yet withered and lean.
The hell was that? Another fucking piece of...
Fingers and toenails extending like claws, allowing them to climb effortlessly. We made them look gaunt and weathered, and having ragged remains of clothes they wore. Blood-stained and rotten, with patches of hair still remaining, they retained strong skeletal limbs, which enable them to be agile and quick through the environment.
Where are you?
My name is Jamie Gallipo, animation director at Supermassive. The overall direction on the creature was to be very strong, to be extremely fast. We wanted a spider-like movement to the creature. 1 minute scampering to leaping and then crawling, almost instantaneous. And finally, we wanted the creature to have this real, uncontrollable thirst for flesh.
From a sound design perspective, the Wendigo was a real challenge. For the main vocalisations of the Wendigo, we used our own vocalisations, various different animals from the exotic to the farmyard, various plugins and processes to gel these sounds together and keep a human resonance behind that voice, telling the backstory of the Wendigo. During the chase sequences, the anger of the Wendigo is felt by encircling breaths, screams and screeches that essentially chase you as you're being chased by the Wendigo. We would layer them up in a multitude of layers, sometimes 15, 20 sounds playing at the same time, to build up the vocalizations for this fearsome creature which is always in attack mode, hyperactive and chasing you throughout the game.
My name is Will Biles, Executive Creative Director of Until Dawn. The first part of getting a believable facial performance in-game is to capture, topographically, the actor's range of emotional expressions as separate versions of the same head. Every tiny nuance gets digitized and merged, effectively creating a model that can recreate every facial movement that the actor makes. Once the topography has been recorded, the actor's performance itself can be captured by using a predetermined set of marker points, drawn precisely on the face, and a high-def helmet cam, wirelessly linked to capture devices. The camera is the small box where it looks like the microphone should be.
Outro Sam. Mark.
It records in high def the movement of the dots throughout the performance that will drive the expressions captured earlier. Unlike other systems, this form of capture is far less lossy because there are fewer interpretations between performance captured and performance rendered finally in-game. The audio is also recorded via two separate lavalier mics attached to the helmet. It takes a while for the actors to acclimatise to carrying around the recording devices and the helmet cams, but very soon the shoot becomes similar to any other effects shoot or a green screen shoot. The actors in these scenes are only recording facial animation, but use cursory body movements for pacing.
Wait, and maybe we should all stick together and find everybody and make sure that we're all okay, so...
1-1, the year before the prank. Take 2, Mark.
Other than the other actors, they have to use their imagination for everything and everywhere that they are supposed to be seeing and feeling.
Idiot! So dumb!
From a hot midday studio in Los Angeles to a freezing midnight mountain in British Columbia. Because Until Dawn has a dynamic, ever-changing story, the facial performances and the body performances are recorded separately, with different systems. With the body capture, we use reflective bead suits and an infrared camera matrix system that drives the CG bone hierarchies in our character models. These performances cover everything from character locomotion, scene-specific performances and stunt work, most of which was recorded at studios in Pinewood and Shepperton, near London.
Hannah! Hello?
Combining all the elements seamlessly in the final game becomes a formidable editing and logistical task. Every variation, both physical and emotional, must be combined in these multi-edits. Scaffolding props have to stand in for the sets, because the hundreds of infrared cameras have to be able to see all of the reflective beads on the actor.
Yeah, fast and violent. All right, from the top.
My name is Jason Graves, and I'm the composer for Until Dawn. I've been involved with Until Dawn for about a year now. Originally, I was contacted by Barney Pratt, the audio director. I think that had something to do with my lineage of horror games, and hopefully not the fact that my last name is Graves, although a lot of people seem to associate my name with scary music. One of the things that was really